As a part of my ordination process, I was invited to name 3 texts that serve as a foundation for my life, faith, and ministry. This story from John was one of them. I love it because it seems to me that an integral part of the healing of Peter's shame involves feeding him. I've been grateful to preach on this text 2 other times. Both times I was drawn to this theme of being fed in order to be healed and in turn feed others. I think that's still what this text is about, so spoiler alert. But every time we come back to a text, we ourselves, Lord willing, are changed. I'm not the same person I was 3 years ago when I last preached this, or 6 years ago when I first preached it. This time around, for the first time, I noticed where the fish actually came from. I think this is the problem with miracles. We stop asking questions, we stop noticing. It's just a miracle. Some of you may remember that during my sabbatical, I completed a certificate program called Eco-Spirituality, Environmental Pathways to Healing. In this program, the natural world was consistently referred to as more than human. This made a kind of sense to me, as I have often heard or read about indigenous peoples referring to plants and animals as relatives. So this time around with John 21, I wondered, what if we approach this story from a standpoint of considering the natural world not as an object or a resource or a commodity, but as more than human? What if we consider the fish and the lake in the story as more than human? How would that change how we enter into the story? And in turn, how the story enters into us, how it changes us. If this language feels a bit odd to you, maybe we can start by thinking in terms of characters in the story. So let's imagine the Sea of Tiberias as a character in the story. What do we know about this character? Where else has it shown up in the story to this point? Sometimes we say things like, if these walls could talk. Well, what if the sea could talk? What memories would it have to share? In Frozen 2, Olaf the snowman's insistence that water has memory is integral to the story. While this idea has been dubbed pseudoscience, there's a poetry to it that transcends facts and points to truth. So let's follow this idea of water having memory for a few moments and see what memories the Sea of Tiberias might hold. But first, did you know that the Sea of Tiberias is just another name for the Sea of Galilee? A quick review of the stories of healings and feedings and miracles in and around the Sea of Tiberias, as told in the Gospels, reveal multiple names for the Sea of Tiberias, including the Sea of Galilee and Lake Gennesaret. You can even pick up a placemat at a local tourist shop if you wanted to see these locations of these stories at a glance. I thought maybe the name Sea of Tiberias might reflect a scholarly view that since John was written later than the other Gospels, the writer might use the Roman name Tiberius. Not so. In the only other place this body of water is mentioned in the Gospel of John, in chapter 6, with the feeding of the 5,000, it is also called the Sea of Galilee. So John uses both. Curious, I thought. Of course, I couldn't stop there. I had to see what names were used in other Gospels. Luke, referencing this body of water only one time, uses Lake Gennesaret. Mark, on the other hand, uses the Sea of Galilee 7 times. Matthew, however, referencing this same body of water, uses Sea of Galilee twice, Sea of Tiberias twice, and Lake Gennesaret once. What gives? You might remember that last week I shared about the Sunday after Easter and its many names, and the observation Robin Wall Kimmerer makes in her book, The Serviceberry, that the more names a plant has, the greater its cultural importance. I had never really thought about the importance of this body of water beyond merely being the setting of the stories where so many healings and feedings and miracles took place. Looking at modern hydrology maps of this watershed, I found yet another name, Lake Kinneret. Note that the Jordan River, which you maybe can see just the long straight line coming out of the middle, that's the River Jordan, which has its headwaters further north and east, flows into the lake's north side and has an outlet on the south side where it continues to and ends at the Dead Sea. As the freshwater lake with the lowest elevation in the world, then and now it is the most important source of drinking water for this area. It is approximately 13 miles long, 8 miles wide, and 141 feet deep. It sits in the Jordan Rift Valley, which was formed where the African and Arabian tectonic plates meet. This means earthquakes, and in the past, volcanic activity. This is the geographical setting and an important character for today's gospel lesson, which shows us a very human group of post-Easter disciples, all wrung out and spent. What do we do when we've experienced the unimaginable? When we have endured the great depths of pain and the great heights of joy and ecstasy? Maybe you need to decompress, to go back to what you know, to what is familiar. For Peter, that meant going out on the lake to go fishing. And the others, whether because they claim him as their leader or because they just can't think of anything better to do, decide to go with him. So let's dive deeper into these ancient waters and consider my Olaf-inspired question. What could it mean for water to have memory, for this body of water to have memory? And how does that held memory contribute to the healing of Peter's shame? Jesus is baptized in the Jordan River on the north side of the Sea of Galilee. That water then flows into the sea. Subsequently, the sea is witness to the feeding of the 5,000 from 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. Those 2 fish most likely came from this sea. From then on, it's as if the sea is a co-conspirator with Jesus. The sea supports Jesus as he walks on top of it in the midst of a storm. Later, in collaboration with Jesus' suggestion that the disciples cast their nets on the other side of the boat, the sea offers up an abundance of fish, gifts for these weary disciples. Perhaps this relationship between Jesus and the sea is possible because Jesus is not, in fact, Lord or master over the sea, but one with the sea, as suggested by the artwork on the slide entitled Miraculous Draft of Fishes by John Riley. This piece is oil on canvas painted in 1978 and suggests, among other things, the oneness of Jesus, the fish, the sea, and the disciples. Similarly, John Standing Bear Gonzalez says, among our peoples, we say that the plants listen, the waters listen, the winds listen, and once in a while, a human being listens so closely, so lovingly, that the natural world speaks back through them. Sounds like a miracle to me. These kinds of miracles seem all the more possible in a place where the very foundations of the earth meet and tectonic shifts take place. Geologists might not think so, but poets certainly may. So now we come to it. At this moment, Peter himself must be feeling that rumbling of the earth and the shifting of the ground beneath his feet. No doubt he would still vividly remember his moment of human failure in denying Jesus 3 times. I imagine his gut would still roil and his face still throb with shame. I wonder what narrative would be on autoplay in his mind as he relived the memories of standing by the fire on the night Jesus was betrayed, on the night he denied knowing Jesus. Maybe something like, I don't deserve to be loved. I don't deserve to be forgiven. I'm such a screw-up. I never get it right. Thoughts and emotions we experience through our memories impact our brains, our neural pathways, becoming part of our very physiology. And remember, Peter has just been fed with gifts from the sea. So all of the memories of the miracles of feeding and healing that the sea holds now becomes part of Peter and his healing. And I wonder if Jesus' repetition of the question to Peter, do you love me? Giving Peter the opportunity to articulate back 3 times, I love you, is an opportunity to rewrite the damage been done to his psyche, his mental, emotional, spiritual well-being, rewriting them all with his new memory of healing and forgiveness.
I don't know.
And let us not also miss
where am I supposed to
that it
look?
is the risen Christ
Anywhere.
who feeds
Okay,
Peter on
then.
the beach that morning. This suggests that Jesus is still feeding us, still with us. Jesus is inviting us to receive wholeness and healing, still inviting us to the table of fellowship with gifts from the earth and the sea, from the more than human world. With this in mind, here's my wondering for us today. What if being deeply connected to and interconnected with the more than human world, like Jesus is, could it also inspire us to be more generous ourselves, wanting to share every gift we have because it's what we've also been given, wanting to extend that same grace and healing that we've received to all in need? Wouldn't that be a miracle? May it be so. Amen.